It is time.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yeah.
Ladies and
Should I put my hat on
the
for this
moment has
segment?
arrived to
Whole
hear
time?
from the man himself,
Yes.
Ariel Helwani. Live
Yeah.
from the Box
I feel better
Studios
with this
in
hat.
beautiful New York
Like, I feel
City.
cooler.
It's on the
I
nose.
feel more
And now,
confident.
to answer your questions,
I
get out of your
feel
seats and on
pride,
your feet
power.
because here he is, Ariel Helwani.
Since you guys keep ragging on me about the Titanic, where's this movie from? I feel pride. I feel power. Oh, no, not I feel. I see pride.
Scarface.
No.
Oh, first you get the pride.
No.
Then
Yeah,
you get the
that's it. I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who don't give no crap off of nobody.
Oh, Cool Running.
Once I did the accent, right?
Yeah.
Pride, power. What was the guy's name?
I don't remember.
Yul Brynner. I don't remember what the other guy, the rich guy's name was, but the guy who was telling him was Yul Brynner. What a great movie that was. 1998, Calgary, in the snow, Olympics. Yeah, of course. Okay, let's just, I don't know what to do here.
Real quick, before you answer
Yeah.
other questions, why did you say, I don't even need these headphones anymore, if I'm being honest?
I don't know what you mean.
You said that. That's a quote from you.
Just
don't break the headphones.
Okay, yeah. No, I just meant like if I can't hear myself, right? Like if I don't have to hear from, like, it's nice to hear myself, but like if I don't have to talk to you guys, then, but
You
no.
were actively talking to Connor.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why I said that.
All
All right. Hola, Ariel, El Cubano. I'm going out on a limb here. Sadly, I think I know what is going to happen in the future of the strawweight division, and it doesn't look good for our good friend Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza. Dana was recently speaking to the public saying he has an option for Rose besides Esparza, and then spoke bad about waiting for fights. Enter Jessica Andrade, who after her KO win over Calvillo at 266 in her post-fight octagon interview asked Dana for the winner of Wei Li versus Rose. Which fight is more likely, not deserving to happen next? Namajunas versus Esparza 2 or Namajunas versus Andrade 3? Viva Helwani. Oh my God. El Cubano, always first, by the way. He's like, I don't know how this guy does it every time, but he's always first. I'm going to say they're going to go with Esparza. I'm going to say they're going to go with Esparza. They're going to make it right. More demand, more heat. Namajunas wants it. I think they'll go with Esparza. Hey, Ariel, seeing that Hanukkah is coming up soon. Happy Hanukkah very early. I think November 28th. I wanted to know, what is your favorite Jewish holiday and how does your family celebrate it? Ooh, good question. I always had an affinity for Passover. April, spring is coming, baseball season starts, Final Four, summer is coming. I always like Passover for some reason. You know, the Seders are fun. My personal favorite is Rosh Hashanah or Yom Torah because of all the sweet and delicious foods you get to eat. Never loved Rosh Hashanah because it was like beginning of school, it was fall, it was a little depressing, gets darker. My favorite segment of the week from Patrick. 2 quick questions. What happened with Kenny Florian in the UFC? He was so great on commentary and at the desk. I don't know. Again, I don't like talking about people's employment. That's how we got into this whole mess with Brendan. I just think that there was a change in the status of their relationship. That's for him. That's really for him to say. I do agree, though. He is great. He's a great addition to the PFL, and I love the fact that he's back because he would be a great addition to the UFC team once again. And I love the fact that he's doing any kind of MMA. Do I listen to any other MMA podcasts? Yes, I listen to every MMA podcast on the MMA Fighting Podcast Network, baby. Even the Portuguese one from my friend Guilherme Cruz, and I have no idea what he's talking about. Ariel, why don't you do your first slam dance anymore? The world wants to know. Oh, your fist slam dance. What's a fist slam dance? Is this a troll? Am I being trolled right now? What's a fist slam dance?
I thought that was like a punk rock thing, but yeah, I don't know.
Fist slam dance. I don't know. Is there a baby crying? I just heard a baby crying. Is Becky Lynch's baby still here? Did the baby come with her?
Are we watching you fall apart?
Hey, Ariel, would you ever learn a martial art and to a high level? Sure. Yeah, I was boxing for about a year prior to the pandemic. I'm really jonesing to do it again. Does that count? I think so. I really enjoyed boxing, and I will go back. just a little worried about the whole COVID thing. I do a show. I don't want to get sick. Family, kids. Hello, Ariel. Should Joanne Wood change her name from JoJo to Calder? No, we found out earlier. She's happy to drop it. Hey, Ariel, great interview with Volk on Monday. When you're cooking for the spouse, what's your go-to dish to knock her socks off? Jeez Louise. I'm not the best cook. Tea, does tea count? A nice little green tea. I'm pretty good at eggs. I think I make a pretty good scrambled egg. I'm not great at other stuff. I actually don't really trust myself. Like, I suck at barbecue. I'm pretty good at reheating things, leftovers and whatnot. I feel like there is something that I'm pretty good at, that I'm a bagel with cream cheese and smoked salmon. I'm good at reheating matzo ball soup. Nothing much. Listen, there's other ways to knock someone's socks off, okay? Charm, personality, sense of humor. Good morning, Ariel. My question this week is about Volkanovski and Holloway trilogy fight. Let's say it does actually happen and Max wins this time. Do you think they fight for a fourth time? If Max wins, I don't see Alex just up and leaving. There's no doubt he'll want to get his belt back, but is that even possible? Yeah, it's a good question. I think you got to worry about that afterwards. Now, this week's handicapped hot take for you. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills will win Super Bowl LVI over the king of deflated footballs, Tom Brady, and his shipmates. Let's go, baby. Hashtag Bills Mafia. I love it. It's going to happen. February. Finally. And let me tell you something. If you want to see me lose my shit, it will be when that happens. How many fights away from a title shot is Giga? I'm going to say 2 or 3. If he wins, of course. Being that you are from Canada, which country has the best healthcare system? I believe in Canada it's free, but then I hear it's a long wait. Oof, this is a very complicated one. Let me just say, I've actually had to deal with this Cobra and whatnot since going all independent. Not a blast, and it has made me long for the Canadian healthcare system. They have their issues as well, but I much prefer it over there in Canada when it is given to you as part of your rights living there. You get a cool card. It's sort of like your driver's license, and you get to go to the doctor and you have to deal with all this nonsense. If you're sick, you're treated. If you're not treated. None of this Cobra, copay, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Come on. So yes, I much prefer the Canadian way. By the way, shout out to the Canadian men's national soccer team for their huge win over Mexico yesterday. That was incredible. Does Khamzat become a double champ? No. Do you think fighters would benefit from having a WWE-style manager to help them seem more engaging? Well, Heyman helped Brock a little bit back in the day. Are you trying to say that Helwani would be beneficial to some of these fighters? I think you're right. But, some of them do. Like, you have the managers like Malki out there. You have, Ali is the closest thing to a WWE manager. And by the way, that's a compliment, just for the record. He's straight out of like 1980s, Madison Square Garden, where everyone's booing when Nikolai Volkov is singing the Russian national anthem. Remember that? That was like tremendous heat. That was incredible stuff. So he cuts good promos. He actually told me one time he's more promoter than manager, and I don't disagree to a certain degree. Ariel, your friend from Adelaide is back. Hello, Carmine. I have a question to see where your Canadian ties lie. Imagine you weren't a journalist and just the average Joe. You walked into a bar and one corner had Chris Jericho, one had GSP, and the other had Wayne Gretzky. Who are you going to first? Golly, I'm going to my guy GSP. Now, GSP will know me and recognize me, so that'll be cool. Then I'll go over to Wayne Gretzky and say, 99, you're the man. You were awesome. Mario Lemieux was better, but you're still awesome. And then I'll say, what's up to Chris Jericho? But of course, GSP first. Shalom. Have you heard much about what's next for Stipe? He's kind of feeling it out. I've actually tried to get him on the show, but it's been hard. And at the moment, there isn't anything in the works for Stipe. Very good chance he's trying to ride it out and see what happens January 22nd. So I'd be surprised if anything pops up before then. Hey, Ariel, I know you don't say you get starstruck, but early on in your career, how did you control your emotions, nervousness when you were interviewing a high-profile fighter/celebrity? I don't know. It just never really affected me. I'd probably be more nervous to talk to them off camera than on camera. Something about being on camera alleviated the stress. It's a bizarre thing. I can't explain it, but it was almost like a shield. Like, oh, we're supposed to be okay because we're on camera. Off camera, nervous. Did you notice that New York Rick and GC sound weirdly alike? They both have that monotone hipster, I don't care demeanor in their voice. Wow. How about that from Matthew? Do you agree, Mysterious Frank? New York Rick and GC sound weirdly alike. Quote,
They do.
They both have that monotone hipster, I don't care demeanor in their voice. Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. What just happened? Oh, okay, here we go. It's from my friend Alex. Who's your white whale interview, either on here or for a platform like Ariel Helwani show? Howard Stern. Howard Stern would be that one. I'd love to talk to Howard about his career, about the ups, the downs. Howard Stern would be that guy. I'd love to talk to Drake too. I think that would be fun. But number one, Howard Stern. Howard Cosell, not alive, but if I'm just throwing one out there. Howard Stern of the people who are alive. Can we get Diaz versus Ferguson in December? No, not happening. Will Stipe fight the winner of Ngannou Gan? Maybe. You regularly talk to how in other sports the players know where they stand on the scoreboard. What about also bringing up how sports give a lot more support to the refs as well? Hockey introduced a second ref. Football and soccer have people in the ears of the refs now to support. The UFC is modeled off of boxing, which is more static and much easier than a full-on MMA fight. Why not have someone in the ear to support them? Because then people will think it's like pro wrestling where you have like, you know, the guy with the IFB and the referee is like taking cues from the back, from Gorilla. But I get what you're saying. More support would be good. They do. I mean, it's evolved. They got replay. They got people cage side. Thoughts on that and Team Canada's big winner game last night against Mexico? Woo! Ole, 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 ole. Do you see that scene? They jumped into the snowbank. That was incredible. 2-1. Let's go. When you got to ESPN, was there anything that was disappointing when you saw how the butter was made there? Golly. Let me tell you something. I use this word not to imply pain, but the wound is still a little fresh on that one. So give me a little more time. There's a lot I could say. I'll just say, this is what I'll say. And yes, the sausage. The sausage is made. Should I answer this, Mysterious Frank, or should I be diplomatic and move on?
You must answer the
okay,
question.
I must. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the support. I came from a place such as this one where the quality, the expectation, the attention to detail was A+, second to none. What was most surprising to me was that attention to detail, that quality, that vision wasn't shared. In my opinion, was not shared over there. That's how I felt. I came from, I mean, look at this studio. Look at the equipment. Look at the cameras and the microphone and the lighting and all that. And then could just compare it to, so that's what was probably most surprising. Ariel, who do you think will be the next champion to hold two belts at the same time, and what would the second weight class be? Oh my. 125, no. 135, 145, Volkanovski? A little small. Used to be 211. 155, too big of a jump. 170, too big of, maybe. Tough one. I don't really see one right now. I got it. Valentina, 125, 135. Bang. Dear Ariel, my guy Abhisek, I love you, bud, but the questions are always so long. There are organizations and there are their own rules. You have seen mostly everything. Hence, asking you a couple questions. There are a few moves and rule sets which are legal in one place but not in the other. Can you list 5 moves, rule sets, which are exclusive to organizations, which could have been adapted unanimously, which could have made the sport more thrilling? I mean, I'm not a big fan of knees to a grounded opponent. I'm not. But then Strikeforce had a thing where elbows weren't allowed. I just think there should be one rule set, and that's that. PFL has been innovative in terms of technology with their smart cages. Which 3 artificial, where do you come up with the 5, the 3 artificial intelligent assets would you like to see, from camera work to make the game one of a kind? As Uncle Chill always says, this business is with people acting as tough ones. Who do you think, if given proper opportunity, can give Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson run for his money in acting? In other words, who has the potential to be successful actors? I think Connor. I think Jorge. I think Izzy. I think Valentina. Apropos of Connor's diss tweet, does Max get paid to headline a plus/ABC card along the same lines as a non-headliner pay-per-view? You just get that you get that main event bonus, but you don't get pay-per-view points. I think the diss was, oh, you're such a big star, you're fighting in the afternoon at the empty Apex. If you're such a, it was a good zinger. Ariel, congrats on getting the opportunity to cover Survivor Series. Take us back to 1997. How did a young Ariel feel after the Montreal Screwjob? Hey, we just talked about it with Becky. I was a young boy. A good friend of mine named Jason Tackefman said to me, hey, did you know that the Survivor Series was coming to Montreal? Now, back then, WWE pay-per-views didn't come to Montreal. I think it was actually one of the first. Now, WrestleMania, I know, was in Toronto, but there were few and far between. And that came to Canada, Toronto, but never to Montreal. That was the first in Montreal. And so at that point, I was not really all that into wrestling. I actually took a bit of a break. I was into the Knicks. That was like my main thing, basketball, baseball, football. And he said, let's go to Survivor Series. So we got tickets. We went to the Bell Center. Now, at that point, I hadn't watched wrestling in like 4 years. Honestly, I loved Brett. I was aware that, but I wasn't following it like I did later on. And so I get to the arena and I see everyone holding signs. That wasn't a thing when I was watching in the late 80s and early 90s. Like the whole crowd filled with signs. I remember seeing the oddities come out and they're holding, like one guy's holding the Cartman doll. I'm like, what the heck? This is totally different. Kane, I was unfamiliar with. See him come out like, wow, this is scary. Kane, Undertaker. Of course, I knew Undertaker. There's Sable. There's Sunny. Certainly didn't have characters like that when I was watching. And so the whole thing was different. But then we get to the meat and potatoes. And it's my guy, Bret Hart, against Shawn Michaels. And I'm watching it and I'm riveted, but I don't know a ton about, I think some people talking about the rumors that he was leaving. He loses. It's a little unclear because you're not listening. He gets upset. He starts smashing everything. WCW. I race home. I remember going to scoopswrestling.com and I think onewrestling.com and The Observer. And I start reading all about this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just riveted. And that's what got me in. Vinnie Mac does the promo, Brett screwed Brett, and now I'm all in. I'm watching on Off the Record on TSN, Michael Landsberg. I'm watching Raw. I'm watching Nitro. That's what got me really back in. It was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. And if you haven't seen Wrestling with Shadows, I couldn't recommend it enough. Even if you're not a fan of wrestling, it's just a fascinating look at that world and that business. When you watch UFC pay-per-views, boxing or other pay-per-views, do you have to pay for those, or does the press get free links? It depends. Sometimes I have to pay. Sometimes you get free links. It's not like one set thing, but sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. Shout out to Fighter. They're really great about that. They do hook us up, so I appreciate them very much. Fight, F-I-T-E, Fight.tv. They're awesome. Ariel, as a relatively new fan to MMA, the Till Wonderboy fight got me addicted. Is there anything you can compare the current hype around Khamzat to from the past 20 years? Khabib? But, I mean, it started earlier for Khamzat. Conor had a ton of hypes around him early on. Yeah, I would say that. I'd probably say Conor. But it's nowhere near Conor, of course. It's kind of hard because, he hasn't quite broken through, but there's a ton of there's got to be another one. I'm just blanking at the moment. How many times in the last few weeks have you watched Jones versus DC2? I have not watched Jones versus DC2 very recently. What about having Anthony Lionheart Smith on more regularly as an analyst? He's awesome. He is. It brought me back to the days of DC Just Better with how you two talk about what's going on. It's not a bad idea. Should we have Lionheart Mondays? What do you think? Anthony's one of the smartest guys. He's genuine. He's authentic. I really enjoy him at the desk or whenever he does media. What book are you reading at the moment? I am reading Chris Herring's book about the New York Knicks. God, the name is escaping me right now. It didn't come out yet, but they sent it to me. I can't believe I can't remember the name. It's about the New York Knicks. It's fantastic. It is called Blood in the Garden. Blood in the Garden, the flagrant history of the 1990s New York Knicks. That is what I'm reading at the moment. It's great. What did you think of Full Gear on Saturday? In your opinion, where does AEW stand in comparison to WWE when it comes to wrestler storylines and matches? I'm really into it. Look, I told you, I'm into wrestling and I like it when there's competition. AEW is doing great work. I like watching their product. I'm a fan. I think MJF is fantastic. He's a tremendous heel. Orange Cassidy is great. I love his entrance. Daniel Bryan is the man. Obviously, you know I'm a CM Punk fan as well, although I think he's mad at me these days, and that kind of bothers me and bums me out, and I wish that wasn't the case. I don't really understand why, but otherwise, I am a huge fan of him, and I don't really care. If he doesn't like me, I will continue to be a fan. I don't think he doesn't like me, but, I can't get him on the show. What the heck's the problem? Who else? Oh, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page. Yes, I watched it and I enjoyed it. I like competition. I like when there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think there's great stuff in WWE. That one Friday when they were going head to head was amazing. I love that. Ariel's a wrestling fan. By the way, all the people complaining about wrestling on the show, it seems like a lot of questions about wrestling from my guy Lior. I love when you talk wrestling. So when will you have John Cena on? Oof, that's a white whale. I'd love it. Can you book that for me? I'd love to have him on. Who do you think is going to win the division, the Bills or the Pats? I mean, come on. Love to hear GC's opinion if betting on it. GC's obviously going for the Bills. I'm sure Joe back there is going for the Pats. Everyone's getting all hot under the collar about the Pats. Oh, Mac Jones, he's so great. He's the next Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. Have you heard of a guy named Josh Allen, the 2020 MVP? Yes, I gave him my MVP award, and that's all that counts. The Bills are just fine. We'll prove this in a couple of weeks when we play the Patriots. Have no fear. Bills Mafia is here. Orchard Park is doing just fine. All right? We're doing just fine. All right? Don't worry about us. Worry about yourselves. Well, you get a couple nice wins and all of a sudden everyone's crowning you? Come on. If you're going to crown them, crown them. We know who the New England Patriots are, right? And they're not us. We're the class of the AFC East. We're the class of the AFC. Is December locked in, or are you aware of any fights realistically trying to get made before the end? The biggest one was Bilal versus Wonder Boy. Nothing really else. Ariel, who do you think wins in a 5-round catchweight bout? Bruce Buffer or Joe Martinez? I think Buffer trains. I'll go with the Buff. Are you going to have Stipe on soon? I need to tell Stipe about this. We need to get him on soon. If the winner of Tate Vieira doesn't get the next title shot, who does? That's a doozy. If Tate doesn't get a title shot after that win, I'd love to see her fight home, but I think she will if she wins. Canelo's going up to cruiserweight. What a legend Canelo is, right? It's like his 5th weight class that he's going up, which is absolute boxing mensch status. Do you think if Canelo was given 1 year to train anything he needs to compete, could he beat a top 15 UFC bantamweight? Bantamweight? A 135er for Canelo? What about like a welterweight or a lightweight? Has there ever been talks of doing a UFC MMA show on a streaming platform similar to Drive to Survive or Hard Knocks? I don't know if there's been talks. I think it would be great for wrestling, behind the scenes stuff, because there's the reoccurring characters. With MMA, they come and they go, so it's hard to keep that reoccurring idea. But I think for wrestling, it would be great. Hey, Ariel, if Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat gets scheduled, sign me up for December, January, not December. And Khamzat has another dominant performance. Yeah, title shot could be next. No doubt about it. Hey, Ariel, why do you think that Usman Nurmagomedov news didn't get more publicity? That's a great question. I don't have updates, but it didn't. Is it Bellator? I'm not sure. It happened before that card last week, but yeah, that was, now that you mention it, that was interesting. What's the difference in height between Johnny Walker's first 3 fights and Khamzat's? I think Khamzat's were more dominant. He's like legitimately beating people up, not taking any damage, not winning just via strikes. He's wrestling them, taking them down, smothering them, and then walking away unscathed. What are your thoughts on Joanna trying to fight Carla now that she's closer to a title shot? I don't know. Carla should fight Rose. And Joanna should fight Zhang Wei Li. Easy. My good friend Sarah Rose. Today's my 20th birthday. Wow. Happy birthday. Do you remember what you were doing on your 20th? Yes. I turned 20 in 2002. I was in Europe. And I'll never forget my 20th birthday. If you must know, I had just been released from the hospital. I was backpacking with my friends in Europe. We were in the south of France. We were in Juan-les-Pins, which is next to like Cannes, Nice. And I got really sick and I got a kidney stone and I had to be taken to the hospital. After a couple days, the hospital said to me, you could leave. You'll be fine. You'll pass it. You didn't pass it. You'll be fine. I left. I got even more sick. I couldn't walk. I couldn't eat. I kept throwing up. If you ever had a kidney stone, you know what I'm talking about. It's unimaginable pain. I mean, I'm sure there's things that are worse, but I mean, like you would never expect something so small would affect you so much. And so I went back to the hospital. I stayed there for a week until I passed it. And I'll never forget, they told me, if you don't pass this thing by Saturday morning, we're going to go in and get it. And let me tell you, there's only one way to get it, if you get what I'm trying to say. And so what they did was they gave me an IV and they cranked up the IV in order to break the calcul, as they called it, the kidney stone, so that I would pass it. And so they gave me the IV, they cranked it, and finally, I'll remember one day, it was like almost like a shock to my system, and I passed it, and it was maybe one of the happiest moments of my life. I was so happy. I was so relieved. I was so tired. I was so dehydrated. 2 days later was my 20th birthday. And I remember my mom came to visit me and stay with me. And we went to a hotel in, I think, Cannes before I met up with my friends again. And we just did nothing because I was still really tired and, weak. And it was one of my most memorable birthdays because I just was so grateful to not be in a hospital and to not, be in all kinds of pain. So that's what I did on my 20th birthday. Happy birthday, though. That's a very exciting one. Would you ever consider having Wiz Khalifa on one of your shows? I actually interviewed him before leaving ESPN about the whole PFL stuff, so check that out. Type my name in and his name. Hello from Kamloops, BC. I know you believe Leon should wait for the shot, but since he paid for a camp and has been training so hard, why not take a fight? Because he's got to get the title shot, and hopefully he gets it in March or April. What's the biggest UFC fight you can remember where the correct person won given the 10-9 system, but if it was scored in pride rules, the other person would have? Oh, there's a ton of these. And I can't think right now, but there's one that just happened recently. I mean, you can make a case for Nate and Leon, honestly. Like, who stood standing at the end? Like, who was in, I don't know, 24 minutes, 1 minute, but there's a ton of these. Hello from Ontario. I listen while I'm at work, and it makes my shifts all the better for it. With all the amazing guests you have on, how do you keep track of the things you want to discuss with each of them? Do you keep notes, or is your memory just that good? How about an example of how you prep? Also, has DC reached out to you in any way? No, he's a Benedict Arnold. Surely he knows how you feel by now. Keep on rocking Thug Nose. Yeah. This is what I do. I have nothing in front of me. It's just my computer. And like sometimes I'll forget things like the Terrence McKinney thing, which is going to bother me until the next time I talk to Michael, and I'm going to kick myself tonight. I'm going to hate myself. I'm going to call myself all kinds of names. The only thing I do before a guest comes on, I'll do a Google News search to see if there are things that happened to them recently that I might have missed. And then what I like to do is look at their Instagram and Twitter stories. Sometimes you'll get some good nuggets like the Arnold Allen stuff. And that's pretty much it. But to be honest, I could if I can't interview Joanne Calderwood on the spot with no prep, I don't deserve to be sitting here doing this show. The show of shows, the number one show in MMA. If I'm not smart enough to conduct that interview without a sheet of questions, I never have questions written down. I never have anything written down because it's all up here, baby. Because you have to understand something. When you're the best in the business, they don't call you the best in the business. They call you Helwani. Okay? Okay. Jake from Windy City here. I'm a championship belt collector in both MMA and pro wrestling. And the Ric Flair big gold belt from NWA WCW, the classic Winged Eagle WWF World Championship belt that Bret and Hogan had, and the classic UFC belts were my favorite of what I have. What are your favorites? Ooh, the Wing Eagle one is tremendous. That's number one for me. Like the early 90s, late 80s one. That's the best one in my opinion. I was never a big WCW, NWA fan with the World Championship, although I did love and I say this with a tear in my eye. This is the greatest moment of my life. Remember that? Who knows that?
I don't know that one.
Tucker might know that. 92 Royal Rumble.
Wow.
Any possible locations for UFC 271? What's 271? Is that the February one? Yeah, not sure yet. Okay, just a couple more. Hey, Ariel, you've been able to see a lot of the world through your work as a journalist. What is your dream vacation spot? Man, I'd love to go back to Japan. I'd love to go back to Hawaii. I never went to Hawaii for work, but I'd love to go back there. Japan was tremendous. Australia was amazing. I loved Sydney. So those are a few. Ireland, I loved as well. I loved going to Europe. Loved going to England. So those are a few. Personal favorite fights: GSP, Matt Hughes, John Jones, Gustafsson. Of course, everyone loved Hendo Shogun, but GSP Matt Hughes is my favorite for personal reasons. Hey, Ariel, with Mochaev being signed today, what do you think is the best way to build him? I mean, you just got to give him fights and build him up. Do some good videos, vignettes, build this guy up. He seems like a real star, and you got to do it the right way. Why is your Gable Steveson figure laying down on the desk? I hope that's a rib. It's not Gable. It's that Benedict Arnold, Daniel Cormier. Hey, Ariel, any chance you get James Krause on the show? Good one. He's had a great run. I'd love to have him on. Happy Wednesday. What would your signature move be in pro wrestling? Oh, this is great. Here are some ideas. The heel kick, the heel hook, the nosedive, the mic drop, or my favorite, the Helwani. Get it? The Helwani. Wow. Chris Gardner, shout out to you. That's incredible stuff. Who are your picks for Breakthrough Fighter in 2022? Oh my gosh. We'll talk about that awards coming up, MMA Hour Awards in January. How did the Francis Ngannou situation resolve itself? It hasn't. If you're Nate, how do you play the next 6 months? Get a fight that works for you. Test the free agent market. What is your favorite example of a fighter switching their camp and achieving greater results? Robbie Lawler went to ATT and he became champ. Hey, Ariel, how was the Dr. Atlas dinner? And what are the chances we get to hear We Are Firemen in the UFC? Him and DP are perfect as a team. We are firemen. What a great promo that was. It's tomorrow, Thursday. I'll tell you on Monday or Wednesday. And finally, last one, Louis Gilmore, my man, who says, my man, can you think of any rhetoric or discourse from the MMA world that you are just sick and tired of hearing, be it from the media, fighters, or promoters? I'll shoot you some examples. X almost beat X. X fighter is scared of X fighter. Hate that one. The constant revisionist history where the current hot thing is already better than those that paved the way. Example, Usman being the GOAT over GSP. Shout out to Sandu, my guy Sandu, Chamatkar Sandu. That was a sick gift. Thought they said you were hard to work with. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They did say that. And by the way, shout out, for the opportunity to host a presser yesterday. Don't leave it to the judges. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ, right? You got to do enough just to win the round. You have to do enough to beat the champion to win the round. No, that's stupid. You only have to win 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. No one scores around saying, oh, did he do enough to beat the champ? Oh, yeah, maybe not. No one does that. Don't leave it to the judges. That's dumb. You should have the confidence in knowing that if it goes to the judges, you'll be rewarded if you deserve to win. So those are a few. And also when they say, oh, another one that drives me nuts recently is, oh, he didn't beat anyone in the top 10. They're looking at the top 10 today, like Tyron Woodley. He didn't beat anyone in the top 10. Yeah, because Robbie Lawler and Josh Koscheck aren't in the top 10. Guess what, jabrones? They were in the top 10 when he starched them. That's revisionist history, and that's annoying. In any event, thank you to everyone who left questions. I love this segment, everyone's favorite segment of the week.